Morning, everybody. Ever been to Chicago, the capital of the Midwest and one of our great cities? Well, it has its own history, of course, and one of its most traumatic events began on this date, October 8 in 1871. That would be the Great Chicago Fire. This map shows the tribes of the Great Lakes, and as you look where Illinois and Indiana touch, that's the tribes of our story. And the word Chicago actually comes from a Native American word for wild leeks, or maybe a field of wild onions, but that's the origin of the word Chicago. The French did lots of exploring in the Great Lakes region in the 17th and 18th century. Here's the map of what was known as New France, and that includes what's now Illinois. And a close-up of the map of Illinois from the olden days, you see lots of French names here and there, forts and things. So Chicago comes out of that context of French settlement. So after we became independent and the United States starts pushing west, various treaties were signed with Indians, and you'll notice Chicago is a little chunk assigned to the United States, and the U.S. Army built a fort there, Fort Dearborn, partly because of the location on the Great Lakes and partly to encourage people to settle. So this is known as the Thompson Plat. It's from 1830, and it's one of the earliest drawings we have of the city of Chicago. This is really where a lot of the fire ended up being. And this is from 1833 when Chicago was a town, became a city 4 years later. Note the Chicago River flowing into Lake Michigan, which it doesn't anymore. It goes the other direction. So by the time of our story, you've got a growing city, but mostly wooden buildings. And there had been a drought, and it was just a tinderbox. So the fire did start in Mrs. O'Leary's barn. The story about the cow made up later by a newspaper reporter, but that's kind of the myth that people believed. And this is the kind of equipment the fire department had. So these pumpers didn't really hold very much water. So it's going to be a big problem for these guys. So the fire spread quickly. The red shows the extent of the fire, and the fire departments were quickly overwhelmed, became very fatigued, and it just went out of control. And this newspaper image gives you an example of the drama, but this really captivated the attention of the American people. And then as the wind picked up, this fire kept spreading. So this is a Monday. Sunday it started, so all day Monday it's burning and it's moving all over the place. And then the waterworks stopped. Here's the waterworks building. It's still there today. So the main water mains went dry, and the business district particularly was just consumed with fire. So by Tuesday, it had burned itself out, partly because it was moving to a less populated area, but also because some rain came. So that was a real blessing. So about 300 people died. Over 17,000 buildings were destroyed. The fire area was about 3 to 3.5 square miles. So in 1997, the Chicago City Council officially exonerated Mrs. O'Leary, that her cow hadn't kicked over the lantern and it was all made up. So go to Chicago today and the water tower is still there. This is the waterworks that stopped working, but that building survived, partly because it's stone. And this building survived. It's the Bellinger Cottage. It's a private residence today, but the person who lived there kept dousing it with water during the fire. So this is a wooden building typical of what was there at the time. And on the site of the original O'Leary property is the Chicago Fire Academy. So that's pretty fitting. And I think what's really cool is Grant Park. Here's Grant Park, one of the great open spaces of Chicago, was created with debris from the fire as the city started to rebuild.